it's a power dynamic, right? When we give power to someone else that doesn't look like us in a way in which we have been privileged in having that power,
Yeah.
it feels like we're giving it away and we're getting less.
Right.
And I think that creates a fear-based culture where it's like, if I had the privilege in the way that I looked, or I was closer to that Eurocentric beauty standard or that thinness body standard, then I can get away with more. I have more power. I have more privilege. I get listened to more. And when we start to give away some of that power, or at least open the door for other people to have a perspective on it, I think it threatens people. And so you're met with that kind of retaliation and that pushback. Where do we go from here? Continue. I mean, there is, in the face of adversity, you have to keep going,
Right.
and again, it comes with understanding both perspectives and not necessarily wanting to make people change, just planting a seed of maybe there's another perspective you haven't considered. And
Right.
that's really what I look to myself as what I do. I'm not anti-weight loss. I'm not here to change people's perspective. I'm just here to offer an alternative to maybe what the media and kind of conventional fitness industry has offered up until this point.
Right. Right. And so you mentioned a couple terms that I want to clarify, because I'm wondering what you mean by them too, which is this idea of body liberation. I mean, you've already talked about body trust, body liberation, body positivity. Can we sort of sort out those different terms? Because I always say on this podcast that I think the words really matter, because we so often in our Western culture collapse a lot of different things together, and it confuses what we're talking about, either as health professionals, but then also to the people that we're talking about. They're hearing different things, right?
Yeah.
And so they're confusing what we're talking about. So you've already explained body positivity, right? So what does body liberation mean? And let's connect that to body trust.
Yeah. So obviously body positivity, you talked earlier about being this movement that was originally created for marginalized identities. Body liberation, I feel, has kind of been that antithesis of the fact that body positivity has been hijacked over this last little bit. So it
Okay.
feels like, at least for me and understanding, it's like the next iteration of like reclamation of what the original movement was intended for, right? To liberate all bodies and recognizing that individual bodies can't be free until we're all free. And understanding that if I don't feel safe in my body, then there's someone who else is not going to be able to be safe in theirs, right? So looking at the bigger picture again and looking at it from like this community, society, collective ability to free everybody, right? So that's how I interpret and understand body liberation, being able to really liberate ourselves from the shackles of diet culture.
Yes.
And when we talk about things like body trust, as I mentioned before, body trust looks like being able to understand our own intuitive, innate ability to know our body best, to have personal autonomy and understanding of what we feel, and looking internally rather than externally to find answers about our body. Right. And that's when I often hear this when people have to advocate for their health so hard at, the doctor's office, and they feel brushed off often, but they know internally that something just doesn't feel right. And you have to keep going back and keep advocating for yourself. Right. So it's that, again, sense of knowing yourself and your health.
Right.
And then I think we talked a little bit about body acceptance. And I think really that kind of ties in with everything, is just being able to accept yourself, knowing that when we can accept ourselves, we can also then have acceptance for others, right? Because a lot of the times the way that we feel towards other people is a reflection of ourselves.
Right. It's a mirror.
Yeah, it's a mirror.
Right. Yeah. And so they're all very, very connected. And I think that I want to tap into something that you said. And I feel like such a big part of this is that trust, that body trust. Right. And again, I'm going to relate it back to Ayurveda, because this is what I talk about. This is so much about what my work is about, is helping people reclaim the intuitive healing that we have within us, right? And it's reestablishing that connection, and that understanding, and reawakening the healer that's within us. I think that's what you're kind of speaking to, at least that's how I'm interpreting it, is that reconnecting with this trust of what I am inside, and that I don't need to compare myself to these outside standards. Everyone is out there to help me, and I can choose who's going to help me on this path and guide me. But ultimately, I know the most.
Yeah.
I know the most.
That I'm in the driver's seat.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. And
that's
so I,
empowering to know,
hmm
you know?
hmm
And,
hmm
you know, I would I would love to hear your perspective on this. I often think to myself, when we take a look at health, it's like the choices and things that we do in our life can obviously, have an impact on our health and make us sicker, right?
sure.
But that also means that the choices that we make in our life can make us less sick, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
health is a spectrum. People don't wake up generally overnight with a debilitating chronic illness. It's often, like this slow change that happens over a period of time, and just knowing
hmm
that along the way, if we are more in tune with ourselves, that maybe we would have been able to consider, hey, I'm feeling differently. And I often say to people,
Right.
our health is kind of like a whisper. And if you're not
Mm,
like acutely tuned into that whispering,
right.
then you're going to not know about it until it becomes a roar. And when it becomes a
Exactly.
roar, now we're looking from a Western medicine
Yeah.
perspective of treatment rather than prevention.
Right. Yeah. I always say that, the symptoms that show up, however subtle or obvious they are, the symptoms that show up, they are there to tell you something. You just
Yeah,
have to learn to listen and to
that's it.
just be aware. That doesn't mean you have to stress out and try and fix everything or change everything. Listen, that's the first step, right? It's getting in
Mhm.
tune with that. And I think that's what you're talking about with the body trust,